A story this morning that is one of the favorites in our household. Do you want to come sit with me, buddy? Anyone who'd like to come up and sit on the carpet is welcome to do so, regardless of your age. I know I've got at least one taker this morning. Ooh, two, yay. The images are also up on the screen. Yeah, you're going to sit and read with me? This is called The Big Orange Splot by Daniel Manus Pinkwater. You can see the pictures up there or down here? Down here, okay. Mr. Plumbeam lived on a street where all the houses were the same. Yeah, it's so loud. He liked it that way. So did everybody else on Mr. Plumbeam's street. This is a neat street, they would say. Then, one day, a seagull flew over Mr. Plumbeam's house while he was carrying a can of bright orange pink. No one knows why. And he dropped the can, no one knows why, right over Mr. Plumbeam's house. What happened?
It made a big orange spot on Mr. Plumbeam's house.
Oh no. Oh, too bad, everybody said. Mr. Plumbeam will have to repaint his house again. I suppose I will, said Mr. Plumbeam. But he didn't paint his house right away. He looked at the big orange spot for a long time. Then he went about his business. The neighbors got tired of seeing the big orange spot. Someone said, "Mr. Plumbeam, we wish you'd get around to painting your house." "Okay," said Mr. Plumbeam. He got some blue paint and some white paint, and that night he got busy. He painted at night because it was cooler. When the paint was gone, the roof was blue, the walls were white, and the big orange spot was still there. Then he got some more paint. He got... What color did he get?
Red paint, yellow paint, green paint, and purple paint.
Oh my goodness, that's a lot of colors. In the morning, the other people on the street came out of their houses. Their houses were all the same. But Mr. Plumbeam's house was like a rainbow. It was like a jungle. It was like an explosion. There was the big orange spot. And there were little orange spots. There were stripes. There were pictures of elephants and lions and pretty girls and steam shovels. The people said, "Plumbeam has popped his cork, flipped his wig, blown his stack, and dropped his stopper." They went away, muttering. That day, Mr. Plumbeam bought carpenter's tools. That night, he built a tower on top of his roof and painted a clock on the tower. The next day, people said, "Plumbeam has gushed his mush, lost his marbles, and slipped his hawser." They decided they would pretend not to notice. That very night, Mr. Plumbeam got a truck full of green things. He planted palm trees, baboas, thorn bushes, onions, and frangipani. In the morning, he bought a hammock and an alligator. When the other people came out of their houses, they saw Mr. Plumbeam swinging in the hammock between two palm trees. They saw an alligator lying in the grass. Mr. Plumbeam was drinking lemonade. "Plumbeam has gone too far! This used to be a neat street. Plumbeam, what have you done to your house?" The people shouted. is where I like to be, and it looks like all my dreams," Mr. Plumbean said. The people went away. They asked the man who lived next door to Mr. Plumbean to go and have a talk with him. Tell him that we all liked it here before he changed his house. Tell him that his house has to be the same as ours so we can have a neat street. The man went to see Mr. Plumbean that evening. They sat under the palm trees, drinking lemonade and talking all night long. Early the next morning, the man went out to get some lumber and rope and nails and paint. When the people came out of their houses, they saw a red and yellow ship next door to the house of Mr. Plumbean. That is funny, isn't it? "What have you done to your house?" they shouted at the man. "My house is me, and I am it. My house is where I like to be, and it looks like all my dreams," said the man, who had always loved ships. "He's just like Plumbean," the people said. "He's got bees in his bonnet, bats in his belfry, and knots in his noodle." Then, one by one, they went to see Mr. Plumbean late at night. They would sit under the palm trees and drink lemonade and talk about their dreams. And whenever anybody visited Mr. Plumbean's house, the very next day, the person would set about changing their own house to fit their dreams. Whoa! Look at those houses. They're so different, huh?
Yeah. They look so funny.
They look so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whenever a stranger came to the street of Mr. Plumbean and his neighbors, the stranger would say, "This is not a neat street." Then all the people would say, "Our street is us, and we are it. Our street is where we like to be, and it looks like all our dreams." This month, we have been exploring what it is to live out our liberating love through the practice of repair. Repair is an incredible thing that gives us the opportunity to mend, to make something new out of something that had been broken, or to renew it. But it's got me wondering about the times and the ways in which repair might not be enough. I've been traveling and looking at the history of this country, looking at the pain that we were founded on. Not just the pain of those who were enslaved in this country, but also the pain of those who did the enslaving, the pain of those who stood by and watched, the pain of those who worked for change. Our whole country is built on a system that's never been whole. And it makes me wonder if repair is enough. Repair tends to imply that we can go back or go close to something that we had before. But this morning, what's on my heart is more about transformation. Repair can hold something together for a while, but perhaps in this day, in this age, the repair is only temporary. And what we really need to do
is look at transformation, at creating something new, at taking the lessons that we have from the past, the lessons we've learned in attempting repair, and making a new vision. One of my favorite things about science fiction and fantasy is their ability to free us into thinking about things in a new way. Some of the best sci-fi and fantasy asks these deep questions about what could a world look like? What vision could we create? And many of them may be beyond possibility, but they engage us in thinking in new ways, in exploring our understanding and our assumptions about what can be, about how we create community, about how we have structures of power. And too often we are swimming in our everyday lives just trying to get dinner on the table, trying, in my case, to get the kids to go to sleep. And it's hard to take that time to step outside of the everyday grind and envision something bigger, something broader. And I think talking about this visioning process and this stepping beyond repair is a perfect match with talking about transgender folks. Because to be transgender is to step outside of the pressures of society to choose an either or. There is a path that has been tread. There is wisdom that have been learned by those who have stepped outside of the dichotomies created in our society, in our culture. What can we learn from each other? And transgender is one of those big, visible ways that people step outside of the dichotomies. But I bet even if you don't identify as transgender, somewhere in your life, at some point, something in the society has rubbed you wrong and you have needed to stake a claim of doing things differently. What did that feel like for you? Where did you feel it in your body? Was there anxiety and fear? Probably some. Was there a sense of empowerment, a sense of clarity, a sense of determination or courage, or simply a drive that told you this was right, even if you couldn't express why or how, that some part of you needed to be honored for you to feel whole? I love the image of a rag rug. How many of you have seen these and know what I'm talking about? A number of you, not everyone. It used to be that when clothes would wear out beyond the point of repair, beyond the point of mending, the scraps would be kept. And they would be woven together into something new, in many cases a rug, something that served a need of the people now, in this time, in this place, when those old pieces were no longer working. Rather than throwing them away, the beauty from the past was kept and transformed into something wholly new. The rug tells a story of all the bits and pieces of where our lives have come from. And yet it isn't any of those pieces anymore. All together, when those pieces are woven in a new way, it creates a new thing, a new vision, a new sense of beauty to it that wasn't present in those scraps by themselves. I don't have a big, deep philosophy this morning other than remembering those moments of vision, of something new, of something pulling you, drawing you to become your whole self. How do we share those? How do we say yes to transforming the things that cannot be repaired in our own lives, in our relationships, and in our broader society? Together we will explore that how, because we can't do it alone when we're talking about big systems.